Hello, this is Dan Baldwin, and today we're speaking with Brad Carrell of Strategic Telecom Partners out of Kansas City. And our topic today is why Kansas City-based businesses choose Brad Carrell for their ICT projects. ICT, of course, information and communication technology. Brad, thanks for talking to us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Great. So you are a recommended partner in 5 different categories for Kansas City circuits, SD-WAN, enterprise mobility, information and infrastructure as a service, and then matching distributors to the vendors' solutions they do best. Let's talk about those 5 one at a time. Kansas City headquarter businesses, that's what you specialize in. Is Kansas City an unusual market in any way?
I don't think it's really too unusual other than a couple things. It's right in the middle of the country, so there's a lot of transportation business that's headquartered here. It's unusual. We've got 2 huge underground data center complexes here, which is something that you don't find in a lot of parts of the country. But overall, I think it's just a real solid community with lots of business to go around.
And being you are resident in Kansas City, anybody thinking of headquartering a business in Kansas City, or if they already have a business in Kansas City, they definitely want to talk to someone with feet on the street, right?
Exactly. Yeah, my specialty, customers that have their headquarters here, I help them with nationwide connectivity, and that's what we specialize in.
Great. Now, second point is SD-WAN. We spent quite some time talking about SD-WAN, and while lots of people have memorized how to spell that word SD-WAN, they don't really understand that there's a lot of different layers. There's 3 different moving parts to SD-WAN: the box provider itself, and then the carriers who are integrating that SD-WAN technology into their circuit, but then also managed services providers who are taking those SD-WAN boxes and maybe mixing and matching different carriers or different solutions. Can you talk to your expertise about how you make sure that a customer not just picks the right box, SD-WAN box, but then matches it up with either the right carrier or the right managed services provider and gets the best of all 3 worlds?
Yeah, we really help customers a lot, and when it comes to that, there's 20, 30 different SD-WAN providers out there, and they don't all have the same product. So, what we kind of do is we break it down into categories and start talking about topologies and are you looking for packet optimization, session-based routing, path selection, or MPLS replacement, are kind of the 4 categories we break it down to, and then we help sort through the nitty-gritty details of what they're hoping to achieve with the project, and then match them up with the right underlying supplier. I think that's one thing we're a little unique in, is that vendors who even sell it at all usually only know 1, maybe 2, and we can go pretty deep with about 12 or so, and it really helps us, I think, find the right solution for everybody.
And you gave an example of Belo Cloud, a rather popular box, but just because a customer thinks they want to go with Belo Cloud, if they're trying to get Belo Cloud through a carrier that's not well matched, Belo Cloud might be a mistake. But if they're getting Belo Cloud through a managed services provider that knows their special applications, then it would work. Here's a case where Belo might be good, Belo might be bad. It depends on how you buy it, right?
Yeah, I think that's really one of the most commonly misunderstood things about Belo Cloud is a lot of the big carriers signed up with them, so they got their name out there, but there's more than one way to buy it, and finding a carrier who is using it that only has 5 data centers set up, maybe not as good for a customer application who they're worried about everything being bottlenecked through that. Only 5 data centers where you can there's another way to buy it where you can get access to 80 or 20, or depending on what you want to pay, you've got a lot more options, and that really takes the whole bottleneck situation off the table if you've got a wide distribution of data center access to Belo Cloud, and that's a different model than the carrier models, and I think that's real important for people to understand, and we help them understand that. We take a lot of the confusion and paralysis of analysis off the platform by helping them get to the, hey, here's all the options, and here's what we recommend based on what you're talking about.
Great, great. Shifting gears a little bit, you specialize in combining enterprise wireline and enterprise mobility. So carriers that have a whole lot of cell phones and need some sort of cell phone management. Tell us how your expertise differs from just throwing a wireless expense management software program at the problem.
Well, we can really do a lot of things that customers aren't used to or don't even realize is available. I mean, first of all, from an order placement standpoint, we're getting orders processed in less than an hour, and they can't get that from their direct reps and their customer care teams. Mm-hmm. So that's one plus. And then if we do see a good fit for a telecom expense management company, there's a couple hundred out there, but there's really only a couple that have APIs. Mm-hmm. that pull real-time data, which takes a lot of the manual work that the majority of them do, and really automates that in a new way. But moreover than that, none of the telecom expense management providers are as good at contract negotiation as we are, because they're really accounting people. Mm-hmm. They don't know all the plan options in the back end, and they haven't been on the sales teams of those providers before. Usually what they're doing is they just keep a database of, hey, this other customer over here got this thing on their account, and then they try to see if they can ask for it. But if they're told no, that's the end. And we do a much better job than they do for negotiating. So between faster orders, helping them with their contract negotiation, then bringing in the best of the best 10 suppliers that have real-time data, and we can really provide a complete solution free to the customer that they're not getting already.
And we're not talking just a contractor with a couple cell phones. It's like, what, 50 or 100 cell phones minimum are the sort of clients that you take on for this?
Well, usually for something like that, there's a lot more phones. I mean, we like to have more than 1,000 phones for that kind of service. But I mean, I'm open to about anything if somebody calls in.
Okay, great. Now, D, infrastructure as a service. A lot of people call cloud by different names. I mean, IaaS is nice because at some point there's wires and gears boxes someplace. How do you define infrastructure as a service, and how is that different from the generic cloud?
Well, yeah, a lot of things can be called infrastructure as a service. I think really the big picture definition is virtualized, cloud computing services. And, there's other pieces of that too. I think what I see a lot of it, I see customers setting up a colo just to use Azure or AWS, and there's really better ways to go about it. So those are the kind of things that we focus on.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then finally, circling back to matching carriers and distributors. I mean, there's a lot of products out there, a lot of distributors, and you're really neither carrier nor distributor, more of a consultant. And tell us finally, how is it important that a consultant help a customer match the distributor and the carrier so they don't get a bad mismatch?
Well, that's I think that's something that we're really good at. A lot of agencies out there, really usually sell mostly 4 or 5 different providers, maybe sometimes 10. And I think we're pretty unique in that we really go deep with about 70 plus different suppliers that we've sold, vetted, and worked with, and understand their strengths and weaknesses. And in that learning process, we've learned, which master distributors are strong with a specific provider and which ones are not. And that's real important because, as a solutions provider, as a consultant, I need to have that big stick with the provider. And if the master distributor doesn't have it, that's something that I need to know up front, and that's what we really know who to place business with and where for each different solutions or supplier.
Great. This has been Dan Baldwin, and today we're talking to Brad Carrell out of Strategic Telecom Partners about why Kansas City-based businesses choose Brad for their ICT projects. Brad, thanks for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.